Hi everybody. I'm Betsy or Betselina Stitches, both here and on Instagram, and this is my channel about cross stitch. I am getting into, I don't know, maybe it's the weather or what, but I have had so many starts in the last little bit here, and it's been a while since I last filmed. I think the time before was before I went to Pinwis in Portland. And so I thought I better get another episode filmed so that, it is less overwhelming as I keep adding starts and whips and all the things. So I'm going to be sharing cross stitch first, and then I'll share what the things I made progress on and started in terms of yarn crafts and all the things. So, looking forward to sharing with you. Thanks for coming. Hello to anyone I met at the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. Yeah, just happy you're here. Welcome in. And I will have a big section at the end that is a haul from Pinwis, which is the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. I don't know if anyone else calls it that, but that's what I hear Michelle Bendy calling it, so I've taken that up. So first, let's do cross stitch finishes. Um, and this is being filmed November 2nd, so I'm still feeling a little Halloweeny and spooky, but of course I have a lot of Christmas whips, so those are also becoming more in season. Okay, so my first finish is Let It Snow. So I think I had only had like 15 stitches left, and the back stitch, but I did complete those. I actually completed the stitches at Pinwis, but then I still needed to do the back stitch, and it was a good excuse for me to not ring the bell and get up in front of everyone. So people at my table saw the stitches complete, but I didn't go get cheers. So this is on a 36 count Bestitch Me linen in the colorway Frost. And I used DMC thread 2/2, and I just used the called for. So there's that one. And then another Christmas ornament, which I was almost complete with, but I just decided recently, there's some of these only have like 100 stitches left. I should just get them done. So this is one of the Christmas cats from Christmas Cats and Owls, which is a owl forest set of ornaments. You probably know I have a weakness for orange kitties, so I chose the orange kitty to start. And I might still need to put in the whiskers. Yeah, there's still some like white whiskers, but the stitching is all done on this one. And yeah, this is, I believe, a 16 count oatmeal Aida. And again, this is using DMC 2/2. And I believe this is a free pattern on their website. Because yeah, they have a lot of free patterns on their website, and I either found it just perusing or it was on Cross Stitch the Globe, Stephanie and Allison's Christmas freebies episode, which is where a lot of these come from. Some of my ornaments come from the Jingle Ball Baubles book from last year, and some of them were freebies. And there might be a few that I actually purchased the pattern, but yeah, I just had an overwhelming amount of Christmas patterns. So those are my finishes. I'm going to get all of my starts ready, and then I will come back and share those with you. Okay, so for starts, I filmed my last episode kind of right before I went to the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. So my first few starts are things I started at the retreat. Just so I don't forget later. Erin from Cozy Town Stitches or the Hathaway Sisters made us all bags, and I'm keeping both of these WIPS in this bag. It's really cute. I don't think she sells them. I think she just makes them for other people for fun, at least for now. But I felt like it was a really good fit for me. It's kind of like cutesy, but also spooky. So yeah, we're really enjoying keeping my pinless WIPS in this for now. And it has a vinyl pocket, but then the inside is also lined, so that's nice. So the first thing I started was something I had been planning on starting, and I think maybe it was also a September WIP call. But it's called My Best Friend, and it's by MamaWitchXStitch. And it's Frog and Toad. So I like to start at the top, so that ended up being starting on the letters. But you can see I have started either frog or toad below there. So there is that one. This is on a 36 count linen by Bestitch Me in the colorway Willow. And you'll see with the photo, I just thought this was a good color to go with the different colored threads. So that is that one. I am using DMC 2/2. There was a kitty who wanted to join us. Now he's going to yell at the door because it's closed, but maybe he'll come settle. So yeah, so Frog and Toad was my first, well, it's called My Best Friend, but I just call it Frog and Toad. And I don't know if I mentioned this before on this channel, but Frog and Toad was the first book I read as a child myself. And it's really weird because, you know, it's like, they're picture books, but they're like a lot more words than I think some kids. I don't know if this is neurodivergence or what, but I feel like I asked for this book to be read to me over and over and over, and then one day I could just read it. And I, from that point on, could read really well. So I don't know if it's something about like the way our brains develop, if it was like it was all developing in the back of my mind, but I couldn't actually like perform it until I could do it all. So that was the first book I read to myself. And later, I think that was when I was 5, And then later, like a couple years later in second grade, one of my teachers was convinced that I was just memorizing all the books and I couldn't really read. And my parents were mad. And they were like, well, you could test her. She can read. And I read voraciously as a child. I read a lot of books that probably were like culturally and developmentally like way past where I was at, but I just like devoured novels after a while. So, and there's some of like classics and stuff that I've read later and been like, oh, there's a different context to this than I knew. Okay, now the kitty wants to be let out. Yeah, so I was happy to start that one. I don't know about you all, but I always have like a running list of way too many projects I want to start. And even though I've had so many starts, there's still so many things on that list that I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to have time to do this. So, yeah. But the second start I had at Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit was one of the kit projects that we got. So the two designers were the Artsy Housewife and Avlia folk embroidery. Both super interesting and awesome designers. And the thing that I started while I was there was an Artsy Housewife piece called Brambling Hill. I'm not sure if this is available yet anywhere else, but I'll put up the picture. And it has, you know, one of her signature complicated borders. And this is how far I got. This, oh, well, that doesn't help. The needle minder, it's really cute. And I think this was a gift from Chandria, but it's like a raccoon holding a little cross stitch of a raccoon. So yeah, I'll link her channel as well. Chandria was someone that the Hathaway Stitchers, Amity and Aaron, knew already and were planning on sitting with. And so she was at my table as well. And yeah, it was a really good time. It was definitely like a little overwhelming social experience, but you know, that's what happens when you want to meet up with a lot of people who are interested in the same thing that you're interested in. And the designers were really great. I really enjoyed hearing about their like design process, and Gigi from the Artsy Housewife talked a little bit about how she had done painting before, and it was kind of a similar type of art. So a lot of like realistic animals and interesting borders. And so that was interesting to hear about. And then I had commented on a YouTube episode of theirs like a while back, and so I knew that they had moved to Texas and then moved back to Portland, and so I had just, you know, commented about doing that cross-country move and how like complicated that is, but now they're back. And so both her and her husband Boone were there, and he does a lot of her test stitching, so that was just interesting. And then Krista West from Avlia Folk Embroidery was like giving us a master class on like going and seeking out traditional folk embroidery from like Greece and all these different places that she went. and connecting with people based on saying that she was a stitcher, and like getting all these different people in different places to be like showing her their grandmother's embroidery on their phone. Um and she really talked about like the historical context of the work that she does, that's reproducing folk embroidery, for which there's often never a pattern. And um, yeah, so that was super interesting too. And they were both just really nice. So yeah. I don't know if I'll talk about like this retreat uh like all in one, because it's been kind of a while, but I'll say things as they come to me. um so yeah, and then after that, well, I got COVID at the retreat, so that was not fun. I was in Portland for almost 2 weeks, or maybe it was a little over 2 weeks. And so I was there for a few days and like saw a bunch of people and hung out with my dad and his wife and my stepmom and their little dog, and was having a great time. And then I went to the retreat and had a good time with all of my new stitchy buddies. And then I think the retreat ended on Sunday. And then I think on Tuesday, I was coming home from having dinner with my mom, and I just felt like dizzy and weird, and I was like, I should get like a COVID test or something just to be sure, because my dad is just recovering from health issues, and like I know even like some of the people I saw have like sick family members, and so I was really worried. And then of course it was COVID, and fortunately I was staying in the basement, and so I had my own little like fridge and sink and bathroom, and like I could isolate pretty well. But like the first day or two I was really not feeling great. um and then after that I was just like, I could tell it was still contagious, but yeah, I wasn't like as like, I didn't need to sleep all day, and I didn't have the fever anymore. It was just like I had coughing and it was keeping me awake, and it just kind of felt gross. And I reached out to all of my other people I saw, and none of them tested positive. So, and I heard a bunch of other people tested positive who went to the retreat. So that's where I got it. I probably should have worn a mask, but I didn't. So, and then I came home. Like the trip home was rough. Like I definitely um, felt okay enough to fly, but I was really worried about like passing along my germs, and so I was wearing a mask like everywhere I was, and I was washing my hands a lot, and like still kind of feeling a little like gross. Plus, like under the mask I was sweaty because I can't maintain my body temperature at the way I want it anyway, and then on top of that being a little sick. So fortunately my flights weren't super full, so I didn't feel like I was like so close to other people in the plane, and I was pretty good. Like the airport wasn't super busy, so I think I did okay in terms of like not passing it to other people, but it was definitely like taking a risk. So, um, but I tried to do my best. And so I started those two projects. That was like the 12th through the 14th of September. And then I didn't even stitch most of the rest like until the end of September. That I worked on a couple things. I worked a couple times on Brambling Hill. And just to go back to that for a second, it's on the kit fabric using the kit floss, and I decided to do 2/2, but it's a 36 count linen. That's by Weeks Dye Works. I don't know what kind or anything, and the thread is also by Weeks Dye Works. I have spoken before about how I don't really like buy their stuff, but if it is provided to me or I get it for free or for charity auction, then I will use it. It's more just about, I could definitely give elsewhere. I don't feel like everyone needs to boycott or anything, but like where I'm going to put my money is towards a different floss dyer. So yeah, and you can probably search on the internet if you want to know like the reason that some people don't purchase from them. But yeah, so just to show that again, it's this and it was great. Also, it's like normally you're guaranteed to get 2 kits, one from each designer, and they just both decided they wanted to design 2 different things, so we ended up with 4 kits full of all of the floss and fabric and patterns, and so yeah, definitely felt like I was getting my money's worth. But yeah, so then in the end of September, I started stitching more regularly again, and I had 2 ornaments on my whip go, and they were both Lola Christmas monsters. So the first one I started was, and I think I may have shown Krampus before, which was another one I started. But this is La Befana, and she's kind of like a witch that will leave you presents, or I think it has to do with like cleaning up your house, or I don't know. It's like winter solstice, but like you get presents if you do the right thing. It's like that kind of folk tale, and candy, and maybe you get something bad if you don't do it. I don't totally remember. But this is on a 28 count black Monaco using the called for DMC, and I am stitching 2/2. So that is that one. There's definitely like still a little bit, but you can kind of see that I'm pretty close to a finish. I think I actually have like 400 more stitches or something, but it's mostly probably the fill-in at the bottom. So I started that one. And then the second ornament was also by Lola from that series of Christmas monsters from last year. And this is Lwyd. I am probably not saying that correctly. But you'll see in the photo, but there's like this horse and another sort of like witch-like character. So I really enjoyed like getting in like the outline of the horse and its mane. I guess it's just the outline of the horse's head and its mane. But didn't get very far on that one. So those 2 were started at the end of September, like the last week of September. And they're both on this 28 count black Monaco, which I am enjoying. But I think if you watched my finishes parade, you might have seen last year I did the Lola Christmas cryptids. And then I made them into ornaments and I sent them to family members as gifts for Christmas. I did all of those on an 18 count so that they would fit in those little tins, but obviously these are on a 28 count 2/2, so they're going to be a lot bigger. So we'll see. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing with all of these Christmas ornaments, if like they're all going to get sent out or I'm going to keep some, or wait until some of them I have like the series done. There's another one that's Yule Cat, which I put on my list for next year. But yeah, enjoying doing these little smalls and getting a finish here and there. So those are the Lola Crow ornaments that I did. And then the next things I started were in October. So 3 of these are Whip Go Calls, 2 ornaments, and then another one. So the first start from October is by Barbara Anna Designs, and this is Butterfly Dreams. And I just love her design. That's weird. I can see a place where I used 310 instead of 939, which I couldn't see under my lamp in the living room. Well, anyway, I'll have to fix that. But one of the things that I love is the way that she designs people's faces. And like, for instance, this is I'm assuming a non-white person's head here, and instead of choosing black for the hair, it's like a very, very dark bluish purple, which I feel like is like more representative of certain people of colors, like dark hair. And as a person who has brown hair that is almost black, and my mother's hair is like used to be brown but is now black, I like those little details of like looking for the color that's like more representative. You probably can't tell from looking at me, but there's definitely some qualities of like my Asian heritage in my hair that makes it not the standard like white person hair. So I appreciate that. And this is on a 20 count from Kaylee 10 Stitches, the sewing shop in Canada, before they stopped shipping to the US. And this is I think it's called Gray Ombre in a 20 count Aida. And I'm using DMC 1 thread over 1 Aida square. So that is that one. And I have to remind myself to fix that black that I put in. It's so hard to even like really see it unless you're in really good light. But that is actually like a dark blue. So I've been really liking working on this, and working on 20 count Aida and 40 count is pretty new to me, so I'm always pleased when it like turns out okay and I'm not super frustrated with it. But yeah, so that was the Whip Go call that I started in September. I believe that other one was a current whip. So for my whips and starts board, and then for my Christmas ornaments board, I started. This is called Winter Celebration Small, and it's by Hello from Liz Matthews. And you'll see the picture, but this has kind of an intense border also. And this is the same 36 count frost that I've been using for some of the other ornaments, by Bestitch Me. And I did a whole color conversion because it's used a lot of weeks and different colors, and I now have a pretty big collection of classic colorwork, so I thought, well, I'll just go and like find some fun fancy floss. I think maybe the brown is GMC. Yeah, that might be 938 or something like that. But yeah, and maybe I'll put up my conversion on Instagram, but I don't know. I've been terrible with Instagram lately, so we'll see. But feel free to comment if you are interested in it. I believe it still has some leaks because I do have like a set that I bought from charity, and then like there are some other like random threads that I still have. Um, but it also has classic colorworks, and maybe I think the red is Buckeye Scarlet by Gentle Arts, which I really love after using it for the Data Portraits in Paris by Shaded Stitchery. Um, and oh, I'm so excited. Apparently, there's going to be a second one of those. And so I am definitely going to get on that train. It's going to start in February. So if you were a fan of Data Portraits in Paris, I guess a second one is going to be happening as a stitch along starting in February. So putting that in the back of my mind for plans for 2026. Okay, so that was the first Christmas ornament. And then this one is Christmas Pickle. I wasn't super aware of this tradition, but I guess there's a tradition where you always put some kind of pickle ornament on your tree, and then whoever finds the pickle gets something or gets to open a present early or something. I don't know. I just like that it was a pickle. So now I have a pickle whip. Like, I don't know. Marjorie Maid always talks about like having a pickle whip. Pickle whip was funny because she runs Pick a Whip, the prompt scheme, and and it always kind of sounds like Pickle Whip. But this is almost done, as you can see. I literally only have the places where the holes are is where there should be beads and sequins. So I just haven't done that part yet. But yeah, so this is by Satsuma Street, I think I said. And I believe this is a 16 count white Ada. It might be 18. I was a little worried it might be too small, but I kind of decided that's fine. It's supposed to be hidden in the back of your tree or whatever. So there's that one. And yeah, so those were my two ornaments. And then the last thing I started that was cross stitch is something I've really been like hoping would come up on WIPCO, but didn't until after October. And that is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So it came up in my November calls. And for some reason, I just put start as the goal. So I guess I've completed that goal, but it is kind of a pitiful start. So this is my start. I decided that instead of just having borders, I'd make at least this one little bat. But this is the first block in Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, and this is an even weave 40 count Verdal in the colorway Not Another Sampler. Is that right? Yeah, Not Another Sampler. So it's a nice color. It's like a pretty kind of peachy neutral. And yeah, I'm doing 1/1 in DMC. I definitely need to use the little mascara wand to get those little black threads out off from where I misplaced the bat at first. But I think this is about like 200 stitches, 215, something like that. And I only worked on it yesterday, and yesterday was the first. But I figured it was nice to work on it while it was still Day of the Dead, and like, you know, it wasn't Halloween, but it was like still spooky time. So, but that's good to have started. Now it's in my rotation. And that was the last WIP that I've started for cross stitch. And then I'm going to get together my WIPs and I will come back. Okay, well, on to WIPs. So less WIPs than starts, but still a lot. So I started this temperature cross stitch chart like a long time ago, and then I think I stopped in like April. But it came up on Cross Stitch Monopoly, so I got, I think, through April and maybe May, or maybe I'm like halfway through May. So I added more to this one, and I still really love it. It's just very fiddly. It's like so many color changes. So this was called for WIPCO in November, so I will definitely be putting some more stitches in this. But yeah, I put it on one of my WIPCO boards a couple more times, or one of my cross stitch boards a couple more times, because I would like to finish it, you know, sometime close to the new year. I think the last time I had to catch up on the last couple months in January. But with that pattern, like the border was more extensive, but each day of each month was just that, like, I think it was 27 stitches moon, and it was in different phases, and so parts of like different amounts of the moon would be one color versus another color. These are all both minimum and maximum temperatures, and so was my last one. So yeah, but I really like how it looks when I'm done with it. It's just it's not as easy to count as the previous one, and so sometimes I find I'm a little bit off, and then I'm like, does it really matter, or is it okay if I'm like one stitch off, but then I have to make sure the next row isn't always off by that amount. And so yeah, it's a little fiddly, but this is on 28 count black Monaco, which, as you know, I'm a big fan of. And it uses DMC, and each color is for 2 degrees of temperature between, I believe it's like 20 and 100. And then there's ones for like anything below and anything above. So yeah. But you can tell April and May, it's starting to get warmer, and the colors are starting to get warmer. So that's fun. I think once we get to like more full-on summer, there might be less colors because the highs and the lows fluctuate less, but we'll see. I just started leaving the previous one because I figured that might help me with completing it faster instead of a whole new thread for every little star. but yeah. So, and this is by Climbing Goat Designs, which is the designer of the last one I did also. And I don't know if I'll do a temperature cross stitch next time, but I have been thinking about potentially doing something that's representative of my first year of going solar at my house. Because that's like a constant source of data that I'm always looking at, which is like how many um, watt hours is my roof producing, and like it goes up and down based on the weather, and like um, right now it's like dropped precipitously. It was like for the last 6 months it was always over 1 megawatt or kilowatt. I think it's megawatt hour per month. And I get these like subsidies for every megawatt hour. So, um, but yeah, this year, last month, it was like just a little bit under, and now it's like, I think 600 kilowatt hours or 700, something like that. So, you know, and it cuts down on my electricity costs. So that's nice too. But yeah, so you might see me. I definitely have like an idea for putting together a like how I track my temperature cross stitch video, but um we'll see. It always takes me like so long to get around to doing like even just like the normal floss tube that the extras are sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's way harder. So we'll see. Okay, so the next WIP I worked on is by Ink Circles, and this is goes in this direction, although you know it's a mandala, so it doesn't matter that much. This is Ars Robotica by Ink Circles. I used all of the called for threads and fabric. And I started this one on leap year 2024. And so I think I'm at like 37% done now, but the idea is to get it done by the next leap year in 2028. And so I've been trying to work towards 50% of the stitches complete by February 2026. So I think I'm doing pretty well, but I have been working a little bit more on this because it's like getting closer and closer. So yeah, there's actually only like a couple more blocks in the pattern outside of like this part of the square. Obviously I still need to finish in up there. But I think it's because I'm doing like not all of that white color has been filled in. So what I've mostly been doing lately is like I do a certain amount of the mandala all the way around, and then I fill in the white parts. Or it's like, you know, cream colors. The color's called Honeydew. And so I don't know if I'll get to 50% doing just the gray. But that's that one. And I'm really enjoying it. I actually got to talk a little bit to Tracy Horner at Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. I don't know if she lives in Portland, but I think she lives somewhere near in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. So we talked a little bit about the Sumatran designs, and I mentioned that I have like Indonesian heritage, and was wondering her connection. And unfortunately at this moment I'm not remembering exactly what she said. I think maybe it was that she doesn't travel there, but that she didn't have Indonesian heritage or anything. It was just something she was really interested in. Their, folk cloths and stuff. I think the ones that are for the ships are like traditional cloths that were used on ships. Had some of those motifs, and I'm not totally sure about the others, but they have a definitely like really interesting textile culture there. It's like if you see the batik shirts that are like it's like almost like wearing a suit or something. Like it's totally considered like appropriate professional wear to wear a batik like button up. And there's lots of islands in Indonesia, and each like island and province are probably like what was originally different tribes or communities of native people, all have slightly different batik styles. And so yeah, I was just curious if there was any other like background to those. So one of those things is on my list of like things I would like to do eventually but haven't started, are those Sumatran series. Okay, so the next thing that I worked on was my Extraordinary Birds cell, which again, like already ended, but I'm slowly making progress. So I think the last time you saw it, I just had some details to fill in on this big dinosaur bird or whatever. So I did some backstitching on that, and then I worked on this one, which is either like feet 4 or 5, but it's these jumping birds, and they're cool. So I worked on that, and I did all the backstitching for that, and I found out that these are the males, and then this little one up here is the female. So of course they're doing a mating dance. But yeah, the next one is like the birds with super big beaks. So there's a toucan up here, and I forget if it's called a shoebill or something like that. It has a really big protruding beak. So those are the next ones. So I'm slowly making progress. Again, this is one of those things that I like sort of would like to get done by the end of the year, but it's not like urgent or anything. So that's that one. This is by Lola Crow Designs, and I'm using the called for Bestitch Me fabric, the sandbar. This one is 36 count, and I'm using all of the called for DMC 2/2. But yeah, I just love her designs. There's always something in me that looks at the design and says, how's that going to look good next to each other? Isn't it going to be like way too blocky? But then it's perfect. So yeah, she's just really good with like the color, and using multiple colors, but not like so many colors that this design needs to be huge, but using them like very just precisely to get the kind of like shading and color look that she wants. So yeah, so got a little progress on that one. I definitely hadn't worked on this in a while, but this is Gay Agenda by X Cross Stitch Pattern X. And I think maybe I just had I had everything done up to the green, but I hadn't done any of the yellow. And so I had an old Whipco call that somehow, like, I marked it wrong on my board or something. So it was like from March, that was to do 500 stitches. So that got some of the yellow done. And then I had a Whipco call for another 200 stitches, but I couldn't stop myself from completing because I was almost done. So I did all of the yellow. And next I think I have orange, red, and then Sunday has pink in the agenda. Um, and then there's like some white on the agenda as well as like background. So getting closer, but still not that close to a finish. I think each of the colors that I have remaining has like 1200 or 1500 stitches, and then like two something for the pink, and then like a lot of B 5200. But this is I don't know if this is a 14 count or a 16 count white Ada. But yeah, doing 2/2 DMC, everything called for. And yeah, so but that was good to like get to a good next stopping point, so I can work on it next time to complete a different color, hopefully. And okay, so then sometime midway through October, I thought, oh, I need to work on my Halloween whip, because I had started Halloween Quaker earlier in the year on this beautiful paranormal color. It's an opal Ada by Bestitch Me in 20 count. So I'm doing one thread over one Ada square, so it looks like I haven't done very much at all, but that's really a lot of stitches. So I'm trying to put in a little here and there. And I started in the top left, and so like all of the colors are some variation on like black right now. That's okay. It'll just make the color when it comes in like a little more exciting. And it's definitely good practice on these like tiny stitches, but then like it's 20 count, so I don't have to look for the like two threads as much. So yeah, I feel like I have a lot more things that are like 20 or 40 count now. So just trying to keep that in mind. I do love like the smaller sizes of things when they're around 40 count, and like being able to use one thread is nice. But I just have to be like realistic about my ability to like stare at something that small for a long time. I don't use magnifiers, but I have some like clip-ons that go over your glasses. I just don't feel like they work that well. I was thinking I would really like one of those things that has the like bendy arm that's like a light, and then you can look through it to see magnified on your stitches. So you could have it like right here and look down through it to your whip. But yeah, nothing I've seen so far was like they were expensive, and I was not sure I wanted to spend multiple hundreds of dollars on something for this hobby quite yet, but we'll see in the future maybe. Another whip I worked on is another ornament. This one is very close to a finish. I think I've done all of the cross stitches. This is Quilber by the Blue Flower. but I still need to do some little detail um, on the. I think the Nutcracker has a mustache and also some more stuff in the eyes, and then there's like um, the porcupine's like paws have claws on them, and then of course all of the porcupine quills I have to do still. So so close to a finish, but not quite. So that'll probably get finished pretty soon. I started looking at my Notion, and um, I don't remember now. I think it was Cam, the Stitcher, who mentioned having like a page on her patterns section of her Notion that just like calculated like how many stitches do I need to get to 25%? How many stitches do I need to get to complete? And she had shared some of her code with me so I could create that in mine. Um, and so I've been looking at that periodically because I'm like, my number of WIPS is continually rising, and I'm thinking like, oh well, if things only have 100 stitches left, or I just need to like finish some things, I should just do that whenever I have a little spare moment, and then I'll have less WIPs, and also for the ornaments more things to choose from once I start deciding like what I'm sending out and like what I want to fully finish. So probably hear more about that as we get closer to the um, holiday season. But there's that one. And then I finished my October stitching for Stitch for Pride. So you can see it's that like sort of skull smoke coming out of a pipe. I admit I don't totally know the story behind the person on this one. I continue to be overwhelmed. There's a lot of stuff going on at work, so I definitely like have been doing a lot, but also certain things that feel like homework are just not getting done. But I will definitely go back and do the learning on that one. So yeah, we just have 2 more motifs to go, and the November motif just came out. So I'm looking forward to starting that one. This is on a hemp linen by Jackson Fiber Arts in the colorway Plum, and I'm using the Algae Ross thread pack that was designed with the design. Still really loving my choice to use this fabric with these threads. Yeah, I'm like way more excited about putting this up in my home. I think I like the other one, but it needs to have like a punchy frame or something so that it's not just just like neutral. Even though it's like got a lot of colorful threads, I don't know. Um, I'm just excited about the colorfulness of this one, but I need to frame the other one too. So, yeah, and I don't know if there will be a Stitch for Pride in 2026, but I'm thinking now about like if it was the same, would I still do the spot sampler where it's all on one thing, or would I switch it to doing them all as individual pieces? Just in general, like based on like how much I'm actually gonna like frame things, or I don't know. I just have been really overwhelmed the last like 6 months or something, and so I'm wondering if like I need to do less stitch alongs, or if I just need to like adjust my mindset about it, or what exactly. But this is one of my favorite things to do. I'm actually kind of sad I didn't finish with the learning. But yeah. So that's that one. And then the last thing I worked on is Woolly Zipper by Bent Creek Designs. I think I just put in some of these flowers up here. It was a Monopoly call. And this is on like I don't know, maybe it's like a 20 count, but it's 2/2. And it uses pearl cotton. This fabric feels kind of like burlap. But yeah, so there's one more sheep to go. You might be able to see I started his little head here. And then a little bit more at the top for with I think there's like one more flower and then some more greenery that go up there. So this is getting close to finish also. Yeah, so it's by Bent Creek Designs. It uses pearl cotton 2/2, or sorry, 1/2. And yeah, I don't know what the count of the fabric was. It's Woolly Zipper is like part of these zipper kits, so it like came in a little tiny pouch with a little like all of the threads you need and a paper pattern and the fabric. But I think I might have gotten it on a D-Statch or something, so I wasn't really familiar with like there's other zipper kits that are supposed to be like quick to finish, and it's my first time using pearl cotton, so that's been interesting. Yeah, so that is all my cross stitch WIPs. I think I'm gonna pause here and then I will get my starts and finishes for yarn. I think it's all yarn. I don't think I did anything that wasn't yarn in my other crafts. But yeah, so I had a few starts for non-cross stitch. Be right back. Okay, well, you guys, I'm definitely going wild on learning to knit. So I think I might have shown you this not looking that much different. But I finally blocked my Easiest Cup Cozy that I'm using for sock swatch. I definitely can see like the things that could use correction, but this one looks pretty good. There's some weird things where I like increased or decreased accidentally on the seam there, or like, you know, I did these using magic loops, so half the stitches are on one side of a circular needle and the other half are on the other side, and so sometimes you get little holes or things like where you're flipping your work, because those stitches aren't super close to each other, so you can kind of see that on that side. lettering. And maybe it's even a little more pronounced on the outside. You can't really see it unless you stretch it. But, so that was blocked just a couple days ago. It didn't grow that much or anything. This is using Lion brand Mani Pedi, which is a wool and nylon blend sock yarn. And this is the colorway Yoga, and both of these are from the colorway Yoga. It's just like a self-striping yarn, so they're different colors. But this one, I think I had shown you before, is the first one I did, and this was before I realized that I was knitting in the back loop instead of the front loop. And you can see it's like thicker and the stitches look more slanted, and you can kind of see where like the edges are like not as tight. So these were good to practice on though, because you know it's like not very much actual like real estate to complete, but gives you an idea of like what you're doing. So those were completed. This is from the pattern Easiest Cup Cozy by Gracie Lee Crawl. And I'm using US size 2 needles. But yeah, if you look at these next to each other, you can totally tell how like one of them, I mean, some of it is my knitting getting better, but this is the one where I knit in the back loop instead of the front loop, which makes a twisted stitch, I guess. It's like something that you sometimes have in a pattern, but was not what I was intending. And then you see this one is knit in the correct way. So you can kind of tell how like it's like a thinner fabric. And it just looks a lot neater on the one where I did the knitting. And then, or the correct way to knit. And then they both have a two, like a knit two, purl two rib at both sides. So those are those. I still have to weave in my ends. I don't even know if I'm going to use a cup cozy because I never leave my house to go somewhere where I need to like be bringing coffee all the time. But you know, it was a way to make something that was something that was also a swatch. So that's my only finish. And then I started 1, 2, 3 new projects. The first one, probably the thing I'm the most excited about, but it doesn't always photograph well, is my deep winter coat. This is what the Spite sweater that I had mentioned people in Monopoly and on Twitch were working on. But this is my first like actual sweater, and my first time using cables or doing cables. So I'm pretty pleased with how it's turning out. I still have a lot to go. This is a cardigan, so you do the body and then you pick up stitches and do the sleeves. And then you pick up stitches to make like a folded collar that goes around the neck, but then also down the middle. And there's an optional belt. So I'm supposed to knit to at least 15 inches from the armholes. And I think I have about 4 so far. So that's fun. And this has been like learning all different kinds of techniques. It has cables, which I had never done before. It has places where the pattern is just knit or just purled. And then there's like sections of seed stitch, which is where you purl the knits and knit the pearls so that you get this it's like these sections. So it has kind of a texture. But yeah, hopefully you can see that okay. Like turn it towards my light a little bit. It's a little better. So yeah, this is great because I've seen like several people's versions. I'm still like not totally sure I got the gauge right, but I feel like it's gonna get bigger when I block it because it's wool and because it's heavy. So I'm hoping that that deals with any like my gauge being a little too small. But it also has 2 inches of positive ease, so hopefully that gives me a little wiggle room. This is using Knit Pick Swish in bulky, and the colorway is Garnet Heather. So it's like a deep red burgundy. It depends on the lighting, but I feel like in some lights the red looks more orange, and in some lights it looks more purple. But I am super enjoying that, and I'm using the needles are 7mm, which is a US 10.75. And so that's been good because, like, you know, with the sock yarn, it's like teeny tiny, and it's harder to tell if I'm messing up because of tension being too loose, or with sock yarn, I mean, or if it's just like I did something wrong. Whereas with the bulky, it's a lot easier to like tug it a little bit to make sure that it's either it's me or it's the tension. I mean, those are both me, but like I'm not messing up the stitch pattern as much because it's easier to see, I think. But also I've been kind of a perfectionist, and so I've been trying to teach myself how to fix things, and like you'll notice I might still fix this, but I haven't yet. But this is all supposed to be the same cable right here, but you can see one of them is miscrossed, maybe. Yeah, so this one should be crossed the other way. And what you can do is you can use like double pointed needles to just pull out this part and then fix the cable and then do it again, and then go back to knitting, where you're only fixing like those 4 stitches that are in the cable for multiple rows instead of like frogging out the whole thing. So I've been practicing a little with that. Now that it's like a sweater size, it's a lot harder for me to want to frog out like an entire row. So trying to learn how to do that and like maintain tension, and my needles aren't all the same sizes, so just like learning new things. And yeah, so that's that one. And this is called The Deep Winter Coat by Wool and Pine. And it's also referred to as the spite sweater on Discord, because this was a how many people can finish this before Ian of Ian's Crafts. He's still not done, so I think he's ahead of me. But you know, if I really focused on this, I might be able to finish before him. We'll see. But for now, I'm just really enjoying it, and like I said, it's great to be able to go to Discord and see other people's like confusion and like mistakes and fixes and like different versions of this and different colors of yarn. The pattern is initially written for worsted weight yarn held double, but I just didn't want to complicate myself further, so I went with the bulky, which is supposed to be approximately the same weight. And yeah. So that's that one. The other thing I started, which was a knit along, is called Filigree Triangle Shawl. And this is by Julie Knits in Paris. It uses a fingering weight yarn and US 4 or 3.5 millimeters. It has like a lace pattern and then these like cables in the middle. Because it's so dark, it's kind of hard for you to see the purple, but basically it's like symmetrical. And it's a triangle shaped shawl. The designer's Julie Knits in Paris, and this is a stitch along with folks from Discord, the same people who were working on the spite sweater. I haven't gone very far, and I'm trying to decide, like, do I actually want to use bigger needles to make it a little bit more lacy? But yeah, I feel like some other folks who are doing the knit along are doing using a thicker weight yarn. This is Knit Picks. The color is gloss, and it's like a wool and silk and maybe something else mix. And that was the closest to like the called for in terms of like fabric and also weight. And these colors are called Blackberry for the purple and Gypsum. And yeah, this is also like a bunch of things I didn't know how to do. There's all these like make left and yarn over and make right, and there's even like some slipping of stitches that I had never done before, plus the cables, which feel like pretty normal, except I had only done 2x2 cables and these are 4x4. So just, you know, it's like a way to learn new techniques, and other people are working on it, so that's a little bit motivating. So okay, so that's that start. And then I had socks on my cross stitch Monopoly list to start, but I needed to finish blocking and it hadn't come up. Like, I hadn't rolled, so I would have had to do it, but it did come up. So I did the blocking, and I watched some videos about how to do 2 at a time socks with magic loop. So that is what I'm doing. You can kind of see there's only a few rows. I think I decided it was 4 rows, and 1 sock, 2 socks. And so I am not going to be able to say very much about what two at a time stitching is, or like um, how to learn this, but um, one of the benefits I do know is that it helps with second sock syndrome, which is like you finish one sock, but then you never finish the second sock, um, because you're doing them at the same time. Um, so I thought that would help with my like ADHD, and like I never want to like tie in my ends or like do the parts of the stitching that's not cross stitch when I'm stitching. So I'm hoping this helps with that. Um, but yeah, this is just two different balls of that same line brand mani pedi sock yarn, in the same colorway, but because it's self striping, they'll be different colors. Um, I'm doing top down, so this is the cuff. Um, and I decided that I wanted to try out this heel that uses short rows because I learned how to do short rows in the Spite sweater. Um, and so I want to try doing them for socks. Um, and so I'm using this pattern that's called palindrome socks from knitty.com. I'm not sure if the magazine is called something else or if that's what the magazine is called, but that magazine was recommended by Kate Atherley, who did some tutorials and stuff at this like free online knitting summit thing I went to before. And she also has like some like basic how do you figure out what size your socks should be and like how to make basic vanilla socks. But of course I like to make things complicated for myself. So the palindrome socks are made, you make one, well, this is what the pattern says, but I'm modifying it. Their pattern is you start at the toe of one sock and then you work to the cuff and then you knit a few rows that are going to be cut off. And then you start with the cuff of the second one and work top down to the toe. So it's like one is toe down, one is toe up, and one is top down. But I don't want to do that. I wanted to do two at a time this way. So I'm making a cuff that is similar to their cuff, but not exactly. Just like a 1x1 rib. And and then I think I'll follow their other instructions for the leg and definitely for the heel. And then yeah, we'll see. The toe and I haven't gotten to like what I'm doing with the toe. I do know my feet are a little bit more square at the end than pointed, so sometimes I might want more square toe. But yeah, the palindrome sock also has some patterning on the leg. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do shorty socks, which is what I normally wear all the time, or if I'm going to allow them to be like a little bit mid-calf or, you know, a little bit more than ankle. But there's a pattern on that part of it, so I might try that. I think it's just like a simple lace pattern. So yeah. So not exactly the exact pattern, but I'm following their instructions for parts of it and trying to like teach myself how to do like a loose enough cast on, but then also like the rib on my cup cozies was like way too loose compared to the others. So I'm using the US 2s for the cuff, but I think I'm going to go up to, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 2.5, but it's going from 2.75 millimeters to 3 millimeters, so not that much of an increase. But yeah, so they'll be a little bit bigger, and then I can use longer cables too, because these cables are not detachable, but the 3s are an interchangeable set. So that's how far I got on those. This was like almost 3 hours of work because I was trying to like figure out what I was doing, but I think it'll go much faster. From now, I'm thinking I'll make like a 2-inch cuff, and then I'll figure out what I'm doing with the leg. And yeah, so that is my last start. I started those yesterday as well. So next is WIPS. I'm gonna pause here and just make sure everything is like not in a bag and put away the starts that I showed you. And then I will show you what my WIPS have been. Okay, well, only 2 yarn WIPS. I think I might have to stand up for both of these because they're blankets. But where's the end of this? Okay, not attached to the hook. Good to know. So I think I told you I had been working on like this giant knot. I know I told you that part, but I changed my mind and I decided I have another ball of this yarn. I'm just gonna make it into a ball and stop at the point so that it's approximately the same like color pattern as this one. And then just deal with the knot later. So I did that, and it was called on Monopoly. And so I got a few more rows in for my 2% blanket. So you can kind of see there were like these popcorn stitches, and then I did a couple more rows. And yeah, so this is back as an active WIP. The designer is Lindsay George. And I'm using a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I think, or maybe it's 5, and then in some places it's 4.5. And the yarn is Lion Brand Mandala yarn, and the colorway is Centaur, which kind of gave me some like mid-century modern vibes or whatever. I liked the colors and the like the browns and oranges and mustardy colors. So that is my only crochet WIP right now. I mean, that I worked on since the last video. And then this next one I feel kind of guilty about, maybe because I think it might be an abandoned WIP, or I might pull it all out and start again and do something else. But this is my mermaid tail blanket WIP. And I'll stand up to show you that as well. This is like how far I've gotten. But you can kind of see that this yarn is gigantic. This is the Walmart brand Mainstays yarn. It's called Chenille Chunky yarn, and these colors are teal, and I think this one is called silver. and this is just single crochet with some like shaping. I wanted to make a mermaid tail blanket, but I bought 6 skeins of this yarn, I think 3 of each color. And just because it's so bulky, I looked at the package and it said each skein was only 37 yards or something like that. So I ran out of yarn before I got like anywhere close to the tail. I mean, anywhere close to the end of the tail. And then this color, the teal, has been discontinued. So it's the whole thing. Like, I could get the rest of the yarn off eBay, or I could like start again with something that wasn't like as, you know, it's in the round, because it was supposed to be like you wear it as a mermaid tail. But yeah, so I haven't decided what I'm doing with that, but I'm out of yarn, so it's not getting worked on. We'll see. It seems like it's really like soft, and the fabric it makes is really thick. So one thing I had thought about was maybe making some little cat beds with this, or just, you know, it would be like a reasonably sized lap blanket if it was just not on the round. So we'll see, but that's what's happening with that one, and that is my last yarn crafts WIP. So after this, we'll talk goals and plans, and maybe a little bit about my Notion. And then we will talk about Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit and all of the little gifts and things that people brought and gave out. And yeah, and we'll skip books this time because there's already so much other stuff going on. Yeah, so I'll be right back. Okay, so this is going to be the section on haul. Oh no, wait, I said it was going to be goals and plans, but I brought the haul. Okay, so it's going to be goals and plans. We're into November, so all my November WIP Go calls have happened. So I know what's happening there. I think I might have mentioned that I am using a Notion template that was originally created by Simply Nati, and it is wonderful. But I'm starting to play around with Notion and see what I can do to like make things that are a little bit more like fit like what I like to see. So I moved all my goals. This was kind of also like something I was looking at in Elizabeth from Frizzy Lizzy Stitches template. But I created a current goals section and an ability to say like what my goal is for each WIP if I want to, and then if I put something there, it will show up in my current goals section on my main like landing page for Notion. So right now I have 2 things going for the current goals that aren't WIP Go or Cross Stitch Monopoly. Or I guess it's just craft Monopoly now, because we're doing all like hybrid boards where you could do cross stitch or some other craft. But my current goals that are not for the games that I'm playing are to get the Spite Sweater / Deep Winter Coat to 50% of the rows complete. And I'm doing some like weird math with the rows because it's not all one piece. I mean, it is all one piece, but it's, you do like the shoulders and you do the front and the back and then you put them together and then it's all one row. But then once you get to the sleeves, then there's rows for each of those. So none of the rows are the same length. So this might not be what looks like 50% of the sweater, but I did also change my project pages so they include the option to put in number of rows and rows complete instead of number of stitches and stitches complete. And that's just helpful for like, I made it so it shows up on my calendar stitch tracker page. So I can see like how many rows I'm completing each time I'm working on it, and yeah, that's nice for just like my own like remembering like what was happening with it before. So I'll show you like what I made the page look like if it's a yarn project. And what I did was I made it so if there's yarn that I've linked in the project, it will show what yarn it is. And if I've said what needle or hook I'm using, it will show that as well. And then if it has rows and not stitches, it will say how many rows out of how many total are complete. And then it shows a percentage, but like I said, that's not really a real percentage. Like with the triangle shawl, it's going to be like the first few rows are really short and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So half the rows will not be half of those stitches for sure. And then I just changed it. It used to say stitching days and I just changed it to crafting days. So whatever I'm tracking, it shows that. And then while I was playing out around with the code, I also made it so if it has a DMC link to it, it will say DMC, and if it has any other kind of floss link to it, it will say the threads are fancy floss, and then if it has both, it will say that as well. So just some little updates that I made to see the kinds of things that I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about progress on these WIPs. So that was kind of fun. And then, let's see. I also ended up using the DMC database to make sure I had all of the DMC, because I have a full set. So make sure that I was bringing all of the right DMC to Portland with me by like making sure it was listed with each of the WIPs that I wanted to take, and then double checking all the project bags to make sure that it was there. And so that was really useful. So I've been using that database a little bit more than I had before as well. But yeah, so back to current goals. So for yarn whip, I want to get that deep winter coat to half the rows complete. And then for our Zorbotica, it was just the leap year whip. I want to get that to 50% of the stitches, because that's what I would, if I was keeping pace, I would have 50% of the stitches done by February 28th. So I think I'll probably get there before February 28th, but that's fine. It's just good to know it's on there. And then I put it so that it shows any WIPGO calls that have been called but not completed. And so my database was kind of weird. That's why there's two different boards and there's two different lists. But I just set it up so it shows that the WIPGO database and it just shows some information for each WIP that has been called but not completed. So for November, on my Christmas ornaments WIP Go, the calls were for Happy Christmas to All, which is by Shepherd's Bush, for 5 days of stitching. And that one, these are both pretty small, so 5 days seems like a lot, and we'll see, maybe that makes it a finish. But and then the second one is Katie Kitty, which is by Brooke Nolan of Brooks Books. And so that one has 4 days of stitching, and these are both pretty small. So we'll see, but it'll be fun to do another like Christmas kitty. And then for my WIPs and Starts WIP Go board in November, you can see I have I had a WIP Go call in March that was for FFOs, and I only completed 2 of the 3 days, so I'm not calling it complete. And I know I'm going to be doing like completing things for Christmas or whatever. So that is still on there. And then the November calls were for Halloween at Hot Grand Hollow, and that was just to start it. So technically I've completed that goal, but I'm not checking it off because I just want to keep remembering that it was the WIP Go call, because I feel like I could definitely make more progress on that. And then 4 days on my night sky temperature chart, which you saw earlier, it's like way behind, so that'll be good to get some progress on that. Then I also put in here a list of the ongoing in progress stitch alongs I'm working on, just to keep that top of mind. So the Hoovian stitch along, which I joined way after it was over, and Stitch for Pride, and the Extraordinary Birds saw. So in the stitches to complete, I usually do this as I put the thing into Pattern Keeper. So for this one, for ones where I have like each of the drops, I'm updating that as I'm adding a new drop to Pattern Keeper. So the total to complete is not going to be accurate. It's just how much to complete the next drop. So I have 1,341 stitches to complete the next drop for the Hoovian stitch along, and 938 to complete the next drop for Extraordinary Birds. And then I haven't input the November drop for Stitch for Pride because it just came out. So that one says 0, but I know it's still in progress because there has been a new drop. And this, I also have a finish for now tag on here. So, but it's still considered in progress if it has that tag. So it will still show up even if it says finish for now. So if I'm keeping up, which will, I mean, these other 2 have already ended, so that'll only be for Stitch for Pride for the next month. But yeah, then I will say that. And then I also put on this my Monopoly turns, and again, this will just bring up the ones that are either not started or in progress. And so you can see right now I have a turn on 7B. It says 7B because it's the second board labeled board 7 that I've been on. The roll happened yesterday, and then I landed on Classic Colorworks, which is do 500 stitches on a WIP that is full coverage. And so I decided I was going to start with finishing my Pink Flower Mill Hill kit. And then I'll work on like whatever the next thing is that is closer to full coverage. I think it'll be the Labrador puppy one. So yeah, so I created that, and then I still have this calendar at the bottom and all the other things that were originally here. Plus, I added a button for yarn stash. And yeah, so it's been like good getting my goal tracking updated into Notion. So those are my goals. I am also planning, I've want to finish all of my yarn WIPs, but like in the next month, probably just work on them. And finish November a Stitch for Pride, finish the next drop for Extraordinary Birds, and then hopefully I'll continue working on all of the things that are like really close to a finish. So that I mean, really it's just like mental. I currently have, I think, 40 cross stitch WIPs, and that just feels like too many. And I know I just started one, and then I'm starting 2 more ornaments plus 2 more next month. And I think maybe the other calls, at least one of them is a start on the WIPs and Starts board. So yeah, just thinking about finishing things, but also trying to not make it like be a chore or something that stresses me out. Yeah, and then I just got added to another Monopoly board, so hopefully that will help add to my completing of goals. So yeah, those are my plans. And hopefully you'll see like a little screen share of my Notion so you can see what I was talking about there. So now let's look at what I picked up at Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. So if you have never been to an in-person retreat, first of all, like, I totally understand that they aren't for everyone. It is a lot of people. This is like more than 200 people in a ballroom for a weekend, or a conference room or something. And but one of the things that happens is there's always a freebie table. So people will bring patterns and supplies that they don't want anymore, and they'll put them on the freebie table. And then there's always like several people milling around the freebie table looking at the different things and picking up things they like and don't like. Well, I mean, you wouldn't pick up things you didn't like. But and then there's, on top of that, there's things that you get from the retreat usually. And then sometimes people bring gifts to give to people. So I think I'll start with the freebie table things I got, because these are all mostly patterned. But before I show you the patterns, I just have to share that I got this amazing, like, I think this is pleather bag. And it's Christmassy, and it's from Little Women, and it says Christmas won't be Christmas without presents, which I feel like has like it says something about, like, on the one hand, why are presents like the most important part of Christmas, but also on the other hand, like, these women and Little Women were like growing up in poverty, and there's like a level of like, what does it look like for that experience, which I don't know. I really liked Little Women when I was younger. This was another thing that I read like voraciously when I was like potentially too little to really understand. Like, I remember it was one of the books that I brought when I went to Europe for the first time with my parents when I was 8. Um, so to me, that seems a little young for Little Women, but maybe it's not. I don't know. It's kind of like they're kids, but there's also this like context of like people needing to get married or not get married, or like wanting to be like a little woman, or like not wanting to fill those roles. So I don't know. I think this is great. It has like kind of a weird context, and I have a lot of Christmas whips. So that is that. We've picked up some 14 count fiddler's cloth, which I've used on a bunch of my other whips. Like, it's like an Ada in an oatmeal color, but it has a little like flecks on it. So that was nice sitting on the table. I got this thread keep that says reality has absolutely no place in our world, which I don't know what that means, but that's interesting. And it has slots for 20 threads, so good for a bigger project. I got this Moe's Sales Silks in Spooktacular. And again, these were all just like sitting on a table. And then I got a pile of patterns. So there's this one is Comb the Beach for Treasure with Me. My heart resides beside the sea by Lindy Stitches. And it has all these different like sea animals on it. And it came with some beads, so that was cool. And some stickers from Pinwist 2022. So maybe she was the feature designer. I also got Nighttime Owl by Tiny Modernist. 1844 Lady Man by Bendy Stitchy. I've seen like several people stitch this, and it's just funny to me. I don't know the story behind it, but okay, it says it was a faithful reproduction of an antique sampler. So then from the Primitive Hair Black Pearl, this is a mermaid one. This one is Got the Morbs by Modern Folk Embroidery. I definitely saw this on the Thread Gremlins Flosstube, so it was nice seeing it show up on the freebie table. Troubled Water by Ink Circles, and it says it's the first of a series of bad neighborhoods, which I guess like the fish are dying and there's lots of traffic. So I don't know, there might be more like expository stuff about this inside, but I just thought it was interesting that it was supposed to be like bad neighborhoods. This is Autumn Shadows by The Gathering Place. A little plastic hoop. With My Needle by The Good Housewife. This one came with some threads as well. They look like they're DMC, so I probably do have them, but I just thought that makes it easier. Then this one is called Bargello Fantasy by Loretta Spears. So this has got some like really fancy stitches in it, and I just thought that might be interesting to learn those stitches. And then this is a Jeanette Douglas design called Northwood Sampler. And I've taken her class on specialty stitches at the Jingle Ball, and so I know that she has really good like explanations of all these specialty stitches, and this one has some like beads and charms on it and stuff. I didn't get the charms or anything, but just another reason to practice specialty stitches. So those were all from the freebie table. And then someone made these, which is like a 3D printed thread cube that has the Pinless logo on it, and then 3D printed floss tags, which look like they're the kind that you could put the DMC label on it instead of writing on it. There's a little kitty that wants to come in here, so I'm gonna open the door again. And someone made these thread cubes. I really apologize that I don't know everyone's names. Oh yeah? He's very talkative. But I'm filming right now. Yeah, sit there. So yeah, this is like a thread bed. And this is just a beautiful color. Clearly this has something in it, but I don't know what. Oh, you know, I was talking about a magnifier with a light, and that is what this is. This was also on the freebie table. So I haven't tried using this yet, but I will try that. There were some, I think these were gifts at my table. These are cottage garden threads This one is called Fireplace. This one is called Eve. Some Pirate Robin threads. They're definitely from the Pacific Northwest. This is Orange, Indigo, and Thunderstorm. There were some like pins. This one is a little charm that says acorns and threads. Well, one says acorns, one says threads, and then this says Pinwest in 2025 on the back. This looks like it's just the back of a needle minder. Someone from Canada, I'm assuming, brought this one. There's another little charm. This is another little charm that says Pinwest in 2025 on it. This little rubber chicken. Oh, this is the thread chicken. Because, you know, when you play thread chicken where you try to use up all of the thread so you don't have to, or like get to the end of your stitches without having to switch threads. I brought these as little art containers. This is a little tart tin that I used to make those ornaments last year, and I bought like 50 of them, and I only used 6. So I brought these as table gifts. It's like a little kind of cupcake size. Another decorative pin. Dragonfly charm. A tiny flamingo. This is like a 3D printed frog. He doesn't have a name yet, but he should have a name. I think I already showed one of these, but here's another little decorative pin. Then there was like some candy and stickers. I met Jill from Stitch and Books in person, and she gave us some little bobbin floss drops that look like they were also 3D printed. And then there was someone, and this is the bag that they gave us our like retreat stuff in, and I just kept throwing gifts in there. there was someone at a table who had one of these, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. So this is like the pictures of Northern Lights, but this is like a heavy thing, like that you put on your table, on the edge of the table, and then you can put your floss rings right here so that your floss is easily accessible and out of the way. So I feel like I will be using that at some point. I haven't quite put it into my setup yet because I knew I would be sharing all of the haul. Okay, so I think that might be all of the haul. There might be things here and there that I find later on and share them. And I also got some different fabric. From Be Stitch Me since we last talked. I think this one was the one I couldn't find that I got before I left. It's called Jack-o'-lantern. And this is the 40 count linen. So good for something Halloween-y, but I haven't decided what yet. Then we have Antique Market in a 36 count even weave. And then this is the one that just came in October and it's called Huckleberry. So nice purple. And then my floss fixes came from Fat Quarter Shop for Classic Colorworks. So we've got, this one is September, so we've got Pumpkin Harvest, Purple Aster, that one's really pretty, Purple Toil, it's like very light, like pink and purplish and cream. Queen Bee, it's a nice yellow. Rain Shower, like a gray blue. And Rainy Day, I think I might have this one already. It's like a purple, almost the same color as my outfit. Yeah, I think that one might be used in Halloween Quaker. And then for October, we're in the R's. So Razzleberry, so it's getting later, so the lighting isn't as good, but it's a really nice dark deep burgundy, almost like the color of the Spite sweater. This one is called Really Tealy. It's like a bright tealy blue. Red Currant. This is more like a brick red. Ribbon Red. This kind of reminds me of that Buckeye Scarlet. It's like a shiny red. Ripe Melon. This is like a pinky one. Pinky. And Ripple. Brown, tan, with like kind of a pink tone to it. that might be it for haul. So that might be everything. So just to like end on some personal stuff, like I said, I went to Portland to go to this retreat, but I also got to visit with my dad. He's doing much better. He's constantly like worrying that he's not better enough, but his doctors say he's doing great for his age. And the fall he had like a concussion from falling. And yeah, things at work are still chaotic, but such as working for a nonprofit in DC in these times. But yeah, looking forward to some like new interesting projects in 2026. And let's see, what else? I mean, work projects, because I really enjoy my job doing research. So yeah, looking forward to that. Also the crafting projects, obviously, that's why you're here. But what else? We found some kittens. I don't know if I've told you that we feed a lot of stray cats that live in our neighborhood, and we try to get them fixed, but every so often there's kittens. So trying to get those good home. They're really cute. They must have been hidden for a while because they look plenty big enough to be adopted out at this point. So Mom was doing a good job hiding them, but she brought one of them over, and then we saw a couple other ones to where we put the food out. So trying to make sure those get into a good foster or something. Yeah, I don't know. Things are going okay with me, but again, I'm still just like tired. I'm looking forward to like holiday like time off, and yeah, so that's me. I hope you saw something here that you were interested in, and that you use the chapter headings to skip anything that wasn't your thing. And hopefully you found something that was relevant to you or interesting. If you made it this far, leave me a comment. Maybe leave me a frog emoji. And like and subscribe if you like. And I'll see you next time.